All right, welcome back to another High School Principal Reacts. Today, I am very excited. I get to do one of my all-time favorite movies, which is Back to the Future. I'm going to be actually reacting to the school scenes from Back to the Future Parts 1 and Part 2. If you're enjoying this series, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel or let me know in the comments what content you think I should react to next. Let's get into it.
Can you feel it?
Yo, Jennifer.
Marty, don't go this way. Strickland's looking for you. If you get caught, it'll be 4 tardies in a row.
Principal Strickland.
All right, come on. I think we're safe.
You know, this time it wasn't my fault. The doc said all his clock's 25 minutes.
Well, Doc, you might understand you're still hanging around with Dr. Emmett Brown McFly. Tardy slip for you, Miss Parker.
Yeah, and this does happen sometimes in high schools. You have students that are kind of trying to slip by, or if they get to school late, they're trying to avoid detection, if you will. I've seen students go through side doors, back doors. Nowadays, with school safety the way it is, most schools don't allow that at all. You're only going to be able to go through the front door, and that's mostly for school safety, not so much for the tardies here. But yeah, this does happen sometimes.
And one for you, McFly. I believe that makes 4 in a row. Now, let me give you Nichols' word of free advice, young man. This so-called Dr. Brown is dangerous. He's a real nutcase. You hang around with him, you're going to end up in big trouble.
Oh, yes, sir.
You've got a real attitude problem, McFly. You're a slacker.
Well,
Remind me of
intense.
your father when he went here. He was a slacker, too.
Can I go now, Mr. Strickland?
I noticed your band is on the roster for the dance audition.
Yeah, and he would not be grabbing him like this. I mean, there are situations where, someone's being hurt where you have to kind of get physical, but not for something like this, just grabbing him like that. He wouldn't be doing that.
Auditions after school today. Why even bother, McFly? You don't have a chance. You're too much like your old man. No McFly ever amounted to anything in the history of Hill Valley.
A little intense there. Yeah, he's even touching his nose to nose there. You would never get that close to a student. And his attitude, Principal Strickland here, just almost wanting him to fail. Again, I see this sometimes in movies. As principal, you want to uplift students, help them be successful, help to create the circumstances where teachers and students can maximize learning, maximize student outcomes. You wouldn't be saying, no McFly or no person in your family has ever amounted to anything, and you won't either. Not the kind of attitude that he should have here. All right, so I should mention, the first part of Part 1 is set in 1985. Which is a fairly good while ago now. Things were pretty different then, but this is after he time travels back to 1955, which things are obviously even more different here. Let's see what happens here.
Stop. Looks brand new.
Now remember, according to my theory, you interfered with your parents' first meeting. If they don't meet, they won't fall in love, they won't get married, and they won't have kids. That's why your older brother's disappearing from that photograph. Your sister will follow, and unless you repair the damage, you'll be next.
Sounds pretty heavy.
Wait a...
Yeah, so you'll see him. He keeps getting with his dad, trying to get him to ask his future mother out. That's kind of the premise of what they're doing here.
Nothing to do with it.
Which one's your pop?
That's him.
Okay, you guys.
Oh.
Very funny. You guys are being
Oh, he's got a kick me sign.
Maybe you were adopted.
Okay, real mature time.
And I mentioned in the Napoleon Dynamite movie with this kind of bowling right in the hallway. Not to say that everybody would jump in and help. Sometimes I wish that were the case, but they're not going to just casually walk by and do nothing and ignore it. They're going to either help, or I guess in 1955, you can't pull out your phone and film it. That is what happens a lot of times. But, you would do something, either try and help this guy out, help George McFly out, or go get some help, or unfortunately, just stand there and watch. They're not even doing that. They're just walking by. Not very accurate here. The kick me sign, I haven't seen that in quite a long time. I did see that back in the day. Thankfully, never experienced it. but I did see that back in the day, but haven't seen that in a long time.
Guys. Okay, Nick, can you pick up my phone? Sorry.
Strickland. Jesus, didn't that guy ever have hair?
Shape up, man.
Yeah, and a couple of things. Number one, Mr. Strickland, it's hard to imagine someone who's principal of a school for 30 years. I guess that does happen. Typically, you would begin as a teacher, and it would take some period of time of getting experience working as an assistant principal before you become principal. But he's principal of this school in 1955 and 1985. That's a bit of a stretch. I guess it's theoretically possible, but and he doesn't even get on to the bullies. The kids kicking him. He doesn't even talk to them, but he gets on to George, who received the kick, who's on the receiving end. Not sure what's happening here.
You're a slacker. Do you want to be a slacker for the rest of your life?
Oh,
No. What did your mother ever see in that kid? No.
and he calls him a slacker for getting kicked. Yeah, and you'll see throughout this movie, Principal Strickland, he's kind of a minor character, but he comes up over and over again as Marty and Doc are trying to restore the future here. But probably one of the worst principals I have seen in any of these movies so far. He's kind of F tier, if you ask me. We'll see what happens next.
You've been looking for a
Break it up.
Since you're new here,
He just stands there.
I'm going to cut you a break today. So why don't you make like a tree and get out of here?
He just fucks off. Yeah, so there are situations where students would begin arguing, and just kind of you standing there or approaching them would kind of be enough to break it up. But if students are pushing each other like that and grabbing each other and even have their fists up like they're gonna start fighting, you would absolutely break that up right away, and those students would not get off scot-free. I don't know if it was a little different in the 50s, but nowadays, no. Those students would probably end up getting some form of punishment, whether it's a suspension or in-school suspension or something. You can't just go around shoving each other and very, very nearly fighting. You just wouldn't see that. He's going to jump in there and break them up and say, hey, come to my office, or he's going to want to talk to them. So let's see what happens next. And yeah, again, Principal Strickland not doing the best job here. We'll see if he improves at all.
Where's that punk Calvin Klein? How am I supposed to know, Biff? I ain't a secretary.
Well, go find him. He calls $300 damage to my car, and I owe him a knuckle sandwich. Keep going.
Here you go, Biff.
Yeah, so students can't, this is at the school dance. And by the way, we're now on Back to the Future Part 2. And Marty has gone back in time, as you know, and he's now at the Enchantment Under the Sea dance that they have. Also in Part 1, he's there. But students are not typically allowed to hang out outside, stuff like this for these kinds of reasons. Trouble tends to start either, fights can start, other things can happen outside of a school dance like this. So typically, you get to the dance, you have to go straight in. And then if you're ready to leave, that's fine, but you have to leave the school campus or wherever the event is being held. You're not able to kind of hang around outside of the school or wherever the event's being held.
Well, Mr. Tannen.
Strickland.
How nice to see you here.
Why, Mr. Strickland, it's nice to see you. No, it ain't homework, because I ain't at home.
You've got a real attitude problem. You know that, Tannen? Just watch it. Because one day I'll have you right where I want you in detention.
Slacker.
Mr. Strickland is about the most intense principal I've ever seen, even in a TV show or movie. You would never hit a student like that. Granted, I don't know if in the 50s you may have been able to get away with stuff like that pretty easily, but you would never, even if you could, why hit a student? It's not going to do anything positive for them. And you heard him at the end saying, one day I'll have you where I want you. Like, you don't want students in detention or in school suspension or being suspended. If you want that, why are you really a principal? Every great administrator I've ever known wants students to learn, get good grades, receive things that are going to help them in their future, go either on to college, tech school, military, get a job, anything that they want to do. So him saying, I want you in detention, I'll have you right where I want you. Not the right attitude for really any educator, but that's what we see here. And him smacking him like that, that would get him either fired or disciplined in some way. You can't go around doing that, obviously. All right, so Marty follows him. I guess he went to his office. So he's just going to chill in his office while the dance is going on. Yeah, so not only is he not supervising the dance for which he is responsible, and there's people threatening to beat each other up and stuff going on in cars outside the dance, and he's just in his office chilling. I don't know what he's drinking there on school campus, but not the best look. I think Mr. Strickland is not doing such a great job here as principal. And nobody's around. There are no adults. Yeah, this would either completely stop the dance, or you'd have people getting arrested or at least being kicked out of the dance. You would typically, again, not allow students to hang around outside for this very reason. Typically nowadays, if you have any kind of school dance, we do that, but you're going to have some sort of security there, typically an off-duty police officer working to prevent this kind of stuff from happening, to help with security for the event.
Let's back up. Let's everybody just back up. We'll give them a little bit of room, okay? A little bit of air. It's okay. I know CPR. I know CPR.
What's CPR?
Yeah.
You!
Oh.
It's fine.
Hey, did you just take his wallet? He just took that guy's wallet.
Yes, he says, what's CPR? 1955. So yeah, all sorts of stuff going on here. This school dance needs some major help. There are apparently no chaperones except for Mr. Strickland. He's the only adult I've seen this entire time. Granted, a lot of these high school students look like adults, but adult actors. But Biff gets knocked out, which granted he's the bully, but he gets knocked out, and then Marty comes up to him and takes the almanac he's been trying to get and just knocks him out again. No adults, no teacher chaperones. Typically you'd have, at least one administrator. You've got Mr. Strickland. Granted, he's in his office, just kind of chilling in there. And you would have whatever teacher organization that's sponsoring the dance, they would have their helpers there. You'd have other teachers that have volunteered to work the event, or that the sponsor has gotten to work the event. You'd have all that exits covered. No students would be outside lingering around, punching each other out. Yeah, this school dance needs some help. Yeah, so I'm going to leave it right there. I really enjoyed this one. If you have other content you'd like me to review, either educational scenes from either movies, TV, or social media, please let me know in the comments what you'd like me to react to next. And I'll see you on the next video on High School Principal Reacts. Thanks for watching.